Yeah, don't get fresh.
Yeah. Fair enough.
3 Washington state senators are asking the Washington Gambling Commission to look into loot boxes and determine whether they constitute gambling. They're asking for a relatively quick turnaround time on the findings as well, wanting a recommendation from the board no later than December 1st of this year.
This needs to happen. I mean, first of all, the ESRB needs to get involved in this conversation again. And I really do think that that there needs to be a body inside the United States that takes a stand on loot boxes that clearly qualifies them as the predatory behavior or the predatory thing that they are.
But at the same time, we talk about the government getting involved with video game making. We talk about
they're notoriously bad at it.
Exactly. And so while I understand that sentiment in saying, hey, loot boxes are predatory, they're something that have clearly had a negative impact on gaming as a whole, how do we actually do that without risking the government getting involved in doing it so poorly that the very concept of microtransactions or the very concept of loot boxes paid anything is destroyed?
This is what we've seen in other industries that act irresponsibly, whether it is to the detriment of the people buying their products or whether it's to the detriment of the environment as a, unfortunate side effect of their business. We've seen companies act with this sort of impunity for a long time. And that's what government intervention and government regulation is actually designed to do. Mm-hmm. You hear a lot of hyperbole about government regulation and about, it hurts business. Well, it does. And the thing is that it wouldn't have hurt your business and it wouldn't have been necessary if you weren't acting unethically in the first fucking place. And this is what the ESRB skirted the first time when they actually made it. Mm-hmm. Because the content discussion in video games was a very important one, but this is almost as important.
Absolutely is.
This is damn near as important. And here's the sad part, because the content fight was a purely abstract fight. They were the video game industry was fighting for the same ability to express themselves that every other media has.
As film and television and everything else does.
That's not what the loot box conversation is.
No.
Nope.
They have now made themselves wealthy and padded their pockets and done it on the backs of people who cannot control their own actions.
Right.
And they have now compromise the ESRB to say, yeah, no, that's not predatory. That's some insider trading bullshit.
I mean,
and you know what? The government has to get involved at this point.
I'm only saying that, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but this is the argument that's going to be brought up against it. And what I'm saying is that it absolutely has to be proven, and that's what we're talking about with them having these summits, having these meetings, trying to hash out what exactly this shit is and how far to let it grow or go. Because if the government gets involved, it's gonna be widespread, overarching, and it's gonna have unforeseen circumstances.
But look at what EA did. EA took loot boxes out of Star Wars Battlefront 2 literally just long enough so that they could skirt the heat for doing it.
Of course.
And now that everyone has stopped talking about loot boxes and whether or not they constitute gambling, they're already putting them back in.
Yeah, but what happens when the next game comes out that they try to do this?
No, but here's the problem.
Could they get away with it again?
Here's the problem. They've put the loot boxes back in, and already the brand has been dealt irreparable damage.
This is true.
That's the thing. And I understand what you're saying.
Fuck the brand. We're talking about government intervention on gambling.
There's
government intervention on gambling. This is not a question about content. This is not a question about sales or how well or not it's done. This is about whether or not the video game industry gets a seat at the table or a part of the conversation about the way that it's regulated in the future.
Right, but what I'm saying is you can't.
What my point is that if they're not going to be acting responsibly, then someone who recognizes how irresponsibly they're acting will be able to make a case strong enough for the government to get involved. And then that's when shit really hits the fan.
And that's what I'm talking about. But I'm saying those conversations between content and gambling and profit are inextricably linked. And there's no way that they're going to be able to have that debate without that counter argument being brought up. And right now, I don't see that the video game industry is doing enough to make that point.
They're not.
That's what I'm saying. So when the government gets involved, it's going to be without that input from the games industry.
And my point here is the reason that they're not involved and the reason that they're not doing more and the reason that they're not trying to get out in front of this is because they're making ungodly amounts of money off of it. That's the only reason why. It's greed. It's greed, pure and simple. And we have to accept that. And we also have to accept all of the things that come along with that. When an industry has been compromised by greed and it's no longer doing what is in the best interest of either the industry or the people that are partaking in that part of the industry, guess what? The government has to get involved. And the government, the idea there is to protect people.
Yeah.
From this kind of predatory behavior.
But at the same time, I don't see any bankers in jail.
To speak to your...
No one will go to jail.
No, but I'm just saying in terms of punishment. Money talks and bullshit.
No, you want to know what the punishment's going to be? The punishment is going to be that the government is going to start taking certain shares or certain percentages of what the loot boxes are making.
No, I don't see that. I don't see that. No.
Putting fees or penalties on it?
What's gonna what's gonna happen?
Because that would make the government complicit in gambling.
Yeah.
If they decide to classify it as gambling.
Point taken.
I don't know. I have no idea what your point is. Where did that go?
You said that there would be no punishment for the industry, right?
The punishment would be in a regulatory body that the video game industry doesn't have any say in. That the ESRB is a regulatory body that is internal to the video game industry.
With as much money that's going through the video game industry.
But what Robbie's saying is that the government would just take a cut.
When the government gets involved...
that's not what the government's role is.
And that's why I gave him pushback.
That would have been the mob's role.
Exactly.
If they were in mob control, if they were trying to set up in mob-controlled territory. That's not how the government works.
Did you guys see our administration lately?
I mean,
yeah,
kind of.
Anything goes.
at the same time, but
in a perfect world.
Anyway,
in a perfect world.
No. The punishment is having a regulatory body that is not answerable to the video game industry, that doesn't have the best interest of the video game industry, that doesn't have the best interest of the people playing video games at heart.
Because it's going to be suits making that decision.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the video game industry that knows the difference between, hey, Overwatch has cosmetic loot boxes and everybody's kind of okay with that.
Exactly.
Or, this game had predatory loot boxes that I couldn't get good to get. That would require the video game industry to put the time in to put that into legalese and then make the case on behalf of the video games industry.
Right.
That's not going to happen if they continue on this route. So they run the risk of losing what they could have, because even if it's classified as gambling and people don't want to put gambling in their games, fine. But they would be able to say, hey, but if people want to pay for cosmetic stuff in the game, I feel like that's something that might stay.
Another potential thing that they could do is they could, since loot boxes would constitute gambling, any game that has loot boxes suddenly become an 18 and up product.
It becomes an M-rated game.
And not just an M-rated game, but a product that is subject to control by
gambling.
Yeah,
Trade Commission.
Yeah, what is that? Because
a gaming board.
Well, the same thing that the same types of laws that prevent people under 18 from walking in and buying scratch-off tickets.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Your lottery laws and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's your
yeah,
state gaming commission.
There you go. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. So
would.
it would be a completely different body now that's involved on the retail side.
Yep.
I mean, dude, this could get fucking bad.
So that's what I'm saying. So instead of the video game industry saying, hey, you know what? Instead of $85 million in profit, we might have to only take 45, but we can guarantee ourselves that fucking 45.
Exactly.
Instead of walking away with just 15 from the profits of our retail sales of the game.
Yeah, the problem is their actions right now are too short-sighted. Like, Norris, and you pointed out that EA shut down the loot boxes, but now they're bringing them back. But the conversation's already going, and it's not stopping now.
But it's too late now.
Yeah.
It's beyond them.
Well, and again, that's why I do think that something like the Washington, this case out of Washington State, could provide some very interesting groundwork for a future legal case against loot boxes and games with the loot boxes in them.
Yep.
The Game Developers Conference this year